History leaves behind odd proofs, portraits, laws, labels, and accidents that changed what came next. In these 8 stories, the contradiction is the clue, and the consequence is the real headline. A 63-year-old emperor looks unaged beside his elder son, whose beard is already going gray. The image comes from a 17th-century painting of Aurangzeb and his son. Aurangzeb is shown at 63, and the age gap is built into the faces. The contrast comes from portrait treatment. The emperor is rendered as ageless, while the son's beard carries the mark of age. That makes the painting less about simple likeness and more about how rank was visually framed. The viewer reads power first, age second. The strongest detail remains the same: a father of 63 appears younger than his own son. In the painted image, the beard gives away what the face does not. Princess Charlotte's death left the British throne without the expected next heir, and her middle-aged uncles were suddenly pushed into the succession race. Charlotte had been the expected next link in the line of succession, so her absence created a direct problem for the British throne. The pressure fell on her uncles, who were middle-aged and suddenly expected to produce the next heir. One blunt phrase from the period called it Hyman's War terrific, meaning marriage was treated like a contest for succession. That turned a family loss into an urgent dynastic calculation, with marriage choices suddenly tied to the future of the crown. The result was a visible scramble to secure the line of succession, because the throne now depended on producing another heir. Maria Rickmers was one of the largest sailing ships of her day, and she disappeared on her maiden voyage. She was already notable before she ever proved herself at sea. Her size made her impossible to ignore in an era of smaller ships. The decisive fact is simple: the ship vanished during that first voyage. No confirmed route or cause is given here, only the disappearance itself. That left a vessel known for scale, but not for a completed journey. The first voyage became the only voyage people remember. Maria Rickmers remains a maritime mystery because an enormous sailing ship never returned from the sea. The absence is the record. Milk tokens were invented to stop milk payment theft. The problem was the money tied to deliveries, not the milk itself. In a milk delivery system, households paid as milk arrived. That made payment easy to handle, but also easy to lose control of. The token acted as a payment control tool. It marked the exchange so the delivery could be tracked securely instead of relying on loose cash handling. That changed a routine household transaction into a controlled exchange. Milk was still delivered, but the payment path was narrowed and managed. A small object solved a very ordinary form of theft. Milk, tokens, and payments were linked through a system built to keep money from slipping away. Catherine Helen Spence's final novel stayed unpublished for more than a century after it was called socialistic and dangerous. Spence was already an established author, so the book belonged to a known literary career, not an unknown draft. The problem was the label attached to it. That label mattered because it framed the novel as politically risky before readers could judge it for themselves. Once a work is marked that way, publishers can decide to leave it untouched. The result was simple and severe: the novel remained out of print for generations. A finished work sat in waiting while the century moved on. Today, the novel is remembered as much for its suppression as for its authorship. A single label shaped how long readers had to wait to meet Spence's final book. The Walls of Babylon appeared on many early lists of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. These walls were remembered in ancient writing as more than a city defense. They stood for Babylon itself, not just for a border or barrier. The reason was repetition. Many early lists grouped Babylon with the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the walls kept appearing in that company. That repeated inclusion changed the city's reputation. Babylon was treated as a wonder worth ranking, not only a place with defenses. So the walls survived in memory through lists as much as through ruins. Even when the city changed, Babylon still carried the name of a wonder. In The Birth of the Milky Way, Hera's face was modeled after Peter Paul Rubens's wife. That means a goddess from myth was given a real human likeness inside a classical painting. Rubens anchored the divine figure in the face of someone he knew personally, his wife. The result is a myth scene that also carries a private family likeness. So Hera in Rubens's painting is both an ancient goddess and a face tied to one household. Animal Crackers, a 1930 Marx Brothers film, entered the public domain in the United States on January 1, 2026. That did not change the movie itself. It changed its legal status under U.S. copyright law. The shift came when the copyright term expired. After that, the complete film could be used freely in the United States. On January 1, 2026, the film crossed from private control into public ownership. That status applies in the United States. A studio film from 1930 now sits in the public domain decades later. The complete film is part of that change in the United States. If one strange detail changed everything, there's more where that came from. Subscribe and tell us which fact felt the least believable until the evidence showed up.